Hello, Morningview family. It's Pastor Shawn Matthew, Pastor Jon English Lee, coming to you from our theological library. Pastor Gray Belzer here with us in spirit. We wanted to come to you in this video to kind of go ahead and give everyone in our congregation as a heads up as to what the pastors have decided regarding when we will open as a church. As I shared with you as recently as this past weekend service, our governor made an announcement last week that allowed churches to begin meeting as long as social distancing guidelines were followed. And last week, when she first made that announcement, I was delighted at the thought of us being able to meet as soon as possible. Well, since that announcement last week, it has become clear that we have had a surge of cases of COVID-19 here in the state of Alabama and even in the Montgomery area. We have been in contact with physicians in our area and heard from them, and they are still encouraging us to use a high degree of caution when it comes to meeting. We'll provide a link for this in the video, but you can even see, I don't know if you can make that out okay on the video, but this is actually showing a continued upward curve in specific hospitalizations for COVID-19. And so that's hard data. That's not just the number of tests now versus earlier. That's not just number of cases versus increased testing. That is showing actually how many people are going into the hospital with COVID-19, and that continues very much on an upward trajectory, which is very concerning. And so I've heard from physicians, we see the hard data as to what is happening. And thirdly, I was part of a Montgomery Baptist Association conference call this week. The majority of our fellow Baptist churches in Montgomery are talking about waiting even until June to begin meeting to have services because of these same recommendations from physicians and because of the data that we are seeing. And so after praying about this and giving it a lot of consideration, your pastors have decided that we need to wait at least 2 more weeks before having on-campus Sunday meetings. And I know that is heartbreaking to so many of you. It is heartbreaking to me as well. And this is where we need to have grace with one another. There are some of you in our congregation that are ready to meet now. You would have been here yesterday if the doors would have been open. And there are some of you who have communicated to us, you know what, even when we start meeting again, my family's going to exercise a degree of caution, and we're not even going to be able to come when the church is open. And so we have all different spectrum of thoughts and ideas on this, and this is where we want to be patient and graceful with one another. And so what Jon English and I are about to walk you through now is the plan that the pastors have developed as to what it will look like when we do finally meet together as a church. And so again, we will not meet this coming Sunday, May 17th. We will not meet on Sunday, May 24th. But that week, the pastors will meet together to decide again whether or not we can go forward with a meeting on future Sundays going forward. And that's just going to depend on how the data is looking and what we see going on in our community. But when we do meet, this is our plan. So first of all, our ministry schedule. When we do finally open for Sundays, we are going to meet at 10:30 on Sunday morning for Sunday morning worship. Right now, we are not going to go back to Sunday evening worship until the threat of the virus subsides more. Then we will put back into Sunday evening worship. And we will have no Wednesday evening worship, any Wednesday evening activities on campus at all. If you recall, after we get through VBS, which is always the first week of June, we have no Wednesday activities through the summer anyway until we start back in August. We're just going to go ahead and start that a little early because we need that time in between Sundays to make sure the space is fully sanitized before we meet again. And so that is going to be our ministry schedule. Jon English?
And as it relates to Sunday school and any other small group meetings that we have on campus, we've decided to forego having those meetings for now. We're going to leave extra space for social distancing need and try and mitigate the number of choke points in the building where everybody is going through the same stairwell, the same elevator, the same doorknobs, touching all the same surfaces. And so we're just going to limit ourselves to the Sunday morning corporate gathering as a body for now. And but that doesn't mean that there can't be virtual fellowship for Sunday school classes and small groups through Zoom and online apps like that, or even small group gatherings in person, according to your conscience. And if you can do that safely, then we would encourage small groups of fellowship meetings like that for now. You could even get together on Sunday morning in each other's homes and watch the Sunday morning live stream service together, if that's something that your conscience would allow and could be done safely.
The other thing we want you to be aware of is when we do meet back on campus, just for those same reasons about not having Sunday school, we are also not going to have worship care. We're not going to be able to do preschool and worship care. And that's really largely for the same reason as Sunday school. We don't need to be putting people in confined spaces during this time, during these first few weeks. But you think about our preschoolers even more. You know, one of our preschoolers will pick up a toy and lick it and hand it to another. And we want to be cautious of that. We want to protect our preschoolers, again, during this time when the virus is still of a particular concern. And so, parents, you're welcome to bring your preschoolers into worship with you. We understand they're going to make more noises. That's okay. It's just going to be a joy to have them there with us, for us to be together. So bring them into the service. If you really have a need, if you still want to be here and be able to interact with other people, but you're concerned about your children sitting through the worship in the sanctuary, we will have the fellowship hall open with the live stream going on downstairs if any families that have really small children that you are concerned about, so that they can be there. But if you want to have them in the service, we would be delighted to have them there.
Absolutely. After having the building empty and silent for so long, it will be wonderful to hear screaming children again.
Yes.
As it relates to our sanctuary gathering and for Sunday morning worship services, we're going to try and abide as best as we can by the recommendations from the CDC and from the state regarding social distancing. So we will have ushers and deacons will be there to help point you where to go. We're going to sit every other row in the sanctuary to leave space front and behind. We'll also ask that families sit at least 6 feet apart from non-family members on each individual row. We'll have ushers and greeters. Will be the offering plate will, instead of being passed through the sanctuary, we're going to have those placed in various places around the sanctuary. We're not going to be passing out bulletins. We'll be doing either using the screen and or having them in the pews, already seated on the pews, so that we're not having to physically touch and pass everything. We're trying to have hand sanitizer everywhere and being diligent in cleaning everything. So we're trying to do our best to have social distancing guidelines and follow those as best as we're able, and also have the joy of being together in the same space, worshiping our Lord together on Sunday morning.
And that takes us to the subject of physical greetings. Again, we want to be careful to maintain that 6 feet of social distance that's being emphasized by our authorities. And so we want to remind you all, when we do come together, please avoid shaking hands. Please avoid hugging one another. Please avoid having physical contact with anyone outside your own immediate family. The fact is, we miss one another. We are anxious to see one another. We will be delighted and joyful when we are finally able to be with one another in one another's presence again. But that's specifically why we need to control ourselves, because we love one another so much. We want to protect one another. And that's why we're not going to be using the hymnals, bulletins, things like that in the service, just because we're trying to limit any hand-to-hand contact, any close contact of any kind, any transference of any kind, to protect one another from the virus.
Further, and in keeping with the CDC and the state recommendations, we're going to strongly encourage everyone to wear a mask when they come into the church service. That's not only for your protection, but to protect others from anything that you may unknowingly be carrying. Also because during singing, you actually project what could be contaminating expectorant all over those people around you. So we want to be very thoughtful, very careful. We know that they're not preferred and they're uncomfortable, and it'll take some time to get used to, but this is a way that you can love your neighbor as yourself and seek to protect them. And we will have all of our key leaders that are working around, the ushers and the greeters and anyone else that's serving, they will have masks on. And so we will seek to keep everyone safe, wearing those masks as much as we can.
And then Jon English already touched upon this, but as I said, when it comes to any touching other things in our service, the offering plates will be near the exits. You can put in your offerings as you arrive or as you depart. There will no longer be plates passed in the service. And the same thing for communion. At least for right now, we have decided that we are going to forego communion for the time being for that same reason of having food items passed by different people's hands. We just think it is better during this time to forego. As soon as we are able, we look to reinstate that and come back to it when threat of this virus has subsided.
And as you're thinking through how you would re-engage with the life of the body on these Sunday morning activities, we want you to be very thoughtful, and if you or anyone in your family has had cough, fever, serious congestion, respiratory issues, any other symptoms that might be related or perhaps even seem unrelated to COVID, we want you to seek medical testing and medical advice immediately. If you do test positive, please let us know very quickly so that we can get that information to the people that need to know it. And we ask that if you've had any of these symptoms, that you refrain from coming to any in-person gatherings or activities for at least 7 days. And that's really loving our neighbor as ourselves, seeking to die to self so that we can protect others during this strange time.
And right along with that, we just want to say a word to those who have at-risk health or those maybe in their immediate home that have those who are at risk. Again, we know it is painful to be separated from one another during this time, but if you have a pre-existing condition yourself or someone in your immediate family, or you are over age 65, this is not a requirement, but just an encouragement that you remain at home and just continue to participate through the live stream. The concern here is they have proven that people can be carrying COVID-19 without ever developing any symptoms. And so we are particularly concerned to protect you from exposure until the threat of this virus has subsided.
Right, and to further seek to do what we can to mitigate the chances of people being exposed unnecessarily, we have added in additional building sanitation measures. We are working on, in addition to our regular cleaning procedures, we will be sanitizing doorknobs and push-pull plates and handrails and everything else that's commonly touched. And we're going to have hand sanitizer at all the doors and fully stocked bathrooms, with soap and hand sanitizer as needed. So we're going to do everything that we can from a sanitation standpoint to mitigate the chances of unnecessary exposure.
And finally, we understand that even with all of these plans and precautions, that we are going to have members who, just as a matter of conscience, do not feel comfortable attending the gathering right away. We just want you to know we understand that, we respect and appreciate that, and we are committed to continue to care for your spiritual, relational, and physical needs. Just as we were doing before COVID-19 ever came to America, ever since we completed our sanctuary renovation, we have been doing a live stream on Facebook Live, and during this pandemic, we've added the Morningview YouTube page. But just as we have done since October, we will continue to stream our Sunday worship services so that you can continue to keep connected to the body, at least through that, and hear the preaching of the Word and be plugged in, at least in some degree, in that way. So we just want you to know we encourage and support that. Again, we love you all dearly, and we are taking these precautions and measures because we care so deeply for you. And so if you have any questions or anything about it, our pastors are available. We are going to send this whole list out in an email to our entire membership this week. So about the time that this video becomes available, you should have already received this list in written form by email. And if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact us. We are here for you in every way we can be during this time.